Hello, hello, hello. I hope I can be heard because I did not check my microphone. I hope I can be heard. Let's see too if I am live. There I am. Oh my gosh. I'm getting better at this. Gosh, this is better. Way better than it used to be. Okay, so hello again. It's Friday, my favorite day. Always my favorite day. Okay, so today, well, I don't need sound. I don't need to hear my voice. Okay, here's what I have for you today. And it's just, this is so much fun for me because I'm not a photographer at all. Of course, I'm not a pro photographer, but I love images. I love to take pictures. I'm always behind the camera. My kids are like my best models, of course. And I've always played around with it. I've always, of course, as a web designer, it was always something that it was very important to me and professionally speaking, and to my clients. I've always chose images for them. I was part of photography sessions with them. I always had my finger on images. So today I want to share with you three things that are like three tips or things that are like you have to have it. You have to use it. And these three tips are actually going to help make any images you use pop, either on your website, social media, any other type of graphics that you use for your business, anywhere. So here it goes. I will first start welcoming everyone. Whoever's watching, let me know. Let me know you're there. Let me know where you're watching this from. And I want to share one tiny, very little thing here. Today is actually, as Floridians, it's actually cold for us. This is interesting, right? I'd say probably is in the 60s. I didn't check because I don't like to check these things. But it's kind of cold. And it's kind of nice, because we're like always in the heat. So it's nice when it cools off a little bit. So I wanted to share that with you. Okay, so I see Lorraine. Lorraine is she's in New York. Oh boy, here I am talking about this being cold here. I'm sure you're definitely got a lower temperature than I do. But it's kind of funny because we even make fun of ourselves with the whole being cold thing. If it's in the 60s, we pull out our gloves and boots. Kind of funny. Anyway, so let's jump in because I'm really excited about this one. I actually of course, I need to share my screen because it's visual stuff. You can be just looking at my head, bopping up and down, but I definitely need to share my screen so I can show you the three tips. Okay, so let me do this right because I'm always confused with these things. So yeah, it's working. All right. So the first one I want to share with you, and it's for you to always use high resolution images. And a lot of people kind of get confused with high resolution. Most of the time when we say higher resolution, we pretty much mean dots per inch, which is like how many times, the printer kind of prints your images within 1 inch, how many times the dots go in there. So this is an old saying. Now, of course, we're all digital. Most of us are just developing images or creating images for it to be seen on screen, either TV, iPad, mobile computer. It doesn't really matter. So right now, when I say high resolution images, I actually mean big images. So start off with big images. And the one thing that you have to look for is your image needs to be, if you're thinking about your website, for example, if you're thinking about that image that you want to go across the screen, you definitely want to work at least with 2,000 pixels wide. So and if you're thinking about the image for, I don't know, like half of your page, like width, you want to go between 500 to 1,000 pixels. Definitely work with bigger images because bringing them, resizing them to a smaller size is much easier, of course. But if you ever need to make them bigger and you're not working with a high resolution or a big image, it's just going to lose resolution and it's definitely not going to look professional. Even if it's already a picture taken by a professional. So you definitely want to use high resolution images. So think big pixels, lots of pixels in width and in height. So let's go for, again, I usually like to start off with at least 3,000 pixels width, and depending on the image, of course. So if I'm working on my website, definitely around that size. Okay, and then you can always bring it down when you need it. Much easier. Okay, so that's the first one. The second one is, I don't even know why I was doing this with my screen on. I should have just done it to like direct to screen, but whatever. You know, that's me. I just wanted to like share what I have on my screen. So the second one is the one that I'm actually going to show on my screen. The second one is frame it using the rule of threes. Okay, so some of you might already know what rules of threes is. For those who don't, it's basically splitting your image in three squares from the top to the bottom, and 3 squares from left to right. Right to left doesn't really matter. So you end up with like 9 squares. So let me show you in Canva. I'm actually going to show you all of this inside Canva because it's like my favorite design program for non-designers. Of course, I use Photoshop most of the time, but since I'm teaching you and Canva is free, and if you do decide to purchase Canva Pro, it's also not that big of a deal. It's definitely more expensive to pay for Photoshop than Canva. And Canva works just as well for everything that I'm going to show you. Okay, so I picked 3. Let me move this around a little bit. Guys, I'm moving you around so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I picked 3 images to show you what I mean by rule of threes. You want the subject of your image, so the focus of your image, to be on one of those 3 squares, on the top, on the bottom, or on the sides if your image is wide. In this case here, I have 3 portraits. So in Canva, you can actually click on it, double click on it, and kind of scroll it, not scroll, but yeah, scroll actually, to see the image, and then you'll see those squares that I meant, how the image is split into 9 different squares. So on your, for example, if you have a picture and you decide that you want to give a specific focus within the picture. So for example, on this one, as you can see, I double clicked on it and it's a huge image, right? I can kind of go over here and over here. But in this picture, I absolutely love her smile. I definitely want, my focus on this picture is definitely on her smile. So I don't want to put the smile in the middle, right in the middle of the picture. This is, I mean, it's still a gorgeous picture. It's still going to look good, but you want to put the focus on one of those corners of your threes. So in this case here, since it's a portrait, I definitely want to even want to bring it up and to the right. So do you see where these little not these little, but these squares combine? This is where I want to go. I either want to put it here or here or here or here. So these are the places I want to actually place her smile. So within Canva, I want to show you how you can actually do this. Many of you might not know how to play around with Canva. So when you bring in an image, you can actually double click on it and crop it. So to crop it, it basically, when you double click on it, it basically shows you the whole image. And you can just go ahead and inside, you can just kind of crop it for, whatever you want to do with the image. So for example, if I want to crop the image over here, I can just move my mouse around and change the size or the orientation of the image. I could do whatever I want. This is what the crop tool does within Canva. And as soon as I double click on the image, those squares, they show up exactly. So it can to help you. So in this case here, I'm focusing on her smile. I definitely want to put her smile either on this side or here. So I kind of like it here because I don't know, I like the background on this side more, than if I put her smile on this side, then I have this background here. I kind of like the other background. So there it is. So I'm focusing on her smile. The eyes are usually attracted to these things, on the corners. If you split your image in 3, that's where you want to bring it. So here's the same thing. Here's actually well, Sibila, but you know what? The focus are the hands, right? The hands are in the middle. Not really. They're actually on the lower third. See, in this image, I double clicked it's already cropped all the way to the edges. I can't really do much unless I just make it bigger. So in this case here, the hands are right on the lower third of my image. Same thing. On this one, same thing. The focus is on the food. So the food is on the lower third of my image. You might want to, like, in this case here, my image is not that big, so I can actually go in and make it, I can kind of like go and make it a little, zoom in a little bit more, so I can put the middle of the plate right on that lower third to the right. So I kind of like that better. Might even be nicer over there. Okay, so I'm showing you 3 examples of images that are already well cropped. Now I want to show you two examples of images that are of course, they're gorgeous images still. Definitely a photographer took those for sure. And I want to show you how I'm going to crop these. You can pick actually where you want to put them, and you can actually play around with this. In Canva again, I could just double click on it, and don't be afraid to make your image make your subject really big. So here I want to focus on her smile again, and I want to either put her here on this side, definitely upper third I'm going to use, but either on one side where those 4 squares touch. Yeah, I think that. Or over here. Again, I prefer this. If I'm going to put over here, I like this background more than if I do it on the other side than this one. This is nice too. I could do both. I could actually have the same image in with two different types of crop. I'm actually going to bring her up a little bit more, and I'm going to make her even bigger there. So don't be afraid to make your image, to enlarge your image and put your subject right on the front and have it. One of the problems I see a lot, and one of the mistakes I see with images, that sometimes you take these, like this one, for example. This image was taken. It's a gorgeous image, but when you look at it, even though she's there, she's not the main focus of the image. It's almost like there are all these trees in the back and this pretty street in the back. You see way too many things. There's a lot of information for your brain to process. So if this is you, for example, if it's a picture of you and you actually want people to focus on you, you definitely want to make this larger and use the rule of 3s. So I'm going to do that again. I'm cutting off a lot of that background, and I'm bringing her to this side here. So she's definitely on the right third here, and her smile is on the upper third. So in this case here, lovely play. I actually love this picture with the bubbles and everything. This case here, the image is gorgeous, but I'd like to focus on her again, and I don't want all of the other things around her to distract my audience. I don't want people to look at the guy in the back taking the picture, or these people here. I want her to be the main focus. Again, I'm going to blow this up, and I'm going to move her to, again, I want to put her eyes on the top third of my image. And as you can see, Canva gives me the rule of 3s. Canva gives me all the 9 squares, and I can actually do this with the help of that guide. So here's I'm putting her eyes right on that level of those two of the left corner. So that's what I'm doing. Now, if you want, again, this is an image that's it's a landscape image. If you basically just want her, you don't want anything else, I definitely make this a portrait. I would crop this, and again, bring her in. Just bring her to the side a little bit like that, and there you go. You want the hands to be the main focus. Bring in the hands, put them in the lower, see how I'm putting them in the lower third? Now they're the focus of the image. I'm sure you can see the difference here. Here we have the hands, they're the main focus of the image. And here we have her face as the main focus of the image. Okay, so out with the rule of thirds. let's do the number 3. My tip number 3 is use shapes, frames, and backgrounds for your images. Now, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm talking about. Actually, I have 3 more here. I'm talking about making it part of your brand. So for example, if you have a fun style of brand, your brand is friendly, fun, whatever, you can actually use a couple of different shapes instead of just sticking with the, the square, the rectangle, the basic shapes that we already know and love, of course. But you can actually play around with different shapes. And in Canva, you can actually get to these shapes. If you click on elements and go into where it says frames, right here, it says frames. You can click on see all. These are all of the frames or like the shapes that you can actually insert an image on. Canva doesn't really have like a full variety of shapes, but I'm sure that you'd be fine with, one like a circle-ish, not really a circle, but a round shape like that. These are nice too if you want to play, like, again, depending on your brand, the type of a brand you have. So definitely play around with shapes. The other way that you can play with shapes on your images is actually using a background for your image. So let's say your image is a square or a rectangle or portrait or landscape, and you actually want to give it a little bit of flair or give it a little bit of personality. Go ahead and use some shapes behind it. And they almost like frame your full image. That's a great way to do this. Another example, I'm giving you some examples I just kind of played around with. The frame, for example, the basic frame that everybody uses, the basic frame. Think outside the box. You don't have to make the frame like that. Just give it a flair, give it some, make it fun or make it different. This is one. This is another one. You can just tilt it, tilt that shape behind your image, and all of a sudden you have a full personality for that image. Another one, and this is more elaborate. These 2 are definitely more elaborate. Let me bring them closer here. This one is actually using a pattern as a background. See the pattern here? I'm sure you can see it. A pattern as the background frame for it. And it's using these elements here, almost like you're just kind of glued them on your desk. These are pretty cool. I love it. And you can find them in Canva too. These are very easy to find. They're just Canva elements. You can definitely play with them and use them for your own images. This is another idea that you can treat your images to make them fun. Again, same thing. This is a basic shape that you can find in Canva. You can actually change the image once you grab it. Again, it's all inside elements. So once you grab it, I can just go ahead and change the color. Let me go, and I can, like right now, I'm using green and brown, and I can actually pick up the color from her dress. I mean, you can use your brand colors. There are several ways that you can do this. And actually, this image is actually using a regular frame in the back. See this? This is fun. But it's adding a little bit more fun to it with these shapes. And you can, if you think it's too bright, you can always bring the transparency down. So I can kind of, make it softer. Almost like, can't really see them, but they're there still. I mean, there's so many things that you can do. So play around with that. And again, make sure that, of course, that this is going to be, once you start doing this with your images, it's going to be part of your brand. It's going to be part of who you are and your brand personality overall. So the word here is consistency. That's very important. I have one more that I wanted to show you, and then we're done. Okay. The other idea is, again, with the whole using backgrounds and frames and stuff, sometimes all you need is just to add a little something to the image. So in this case here, all I did was add a little element, a little design element to my image, and you can do all of your images with this. What this does is, this is actually a design element that's going to be part of your brand. Once you decide that you want to do that, you definitely want to place this in strategic little areas of your design, of your website, or of your images that makes it recognizable by other people. So in this case, I just pretty much, again, this is an element from Canva. You can go inside elements and do searches for, I don't even remember the way another good way, I'm gonna have to show you. Can't remember. I can't forget. You can just do dots, for example, for that one. And there you go. I got lots of dots. I even have some playful ones that I can put in the back. See, this is, no, not duplicate, but this is definitely a fun way to bring in a couple of elements and make your, let's bring it backward, okay, and make your image just different. Just it pops from everything else. Now, I'm going to give you a tiny little warning on that. When you start doing this, if you do add I don't want to say too many things. If you do add elements to your images like these, like some kind of a design element to your images, especially when you have more than one, or, it becomes a little, I don't want to say crowded, but it has a lot of things in there. You definitely have to make the rest of your design very, very simple. So very minimalistic. So it doesn't crowd the whole thing. This is you making your images pop, not making everything else pop. So it's the image. Everything else needs to be really simple, really on the minimalist side. So once you do that, the images definitely pop. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this. I'm not sure if Lorraine is still with us. So Lorraine, let me know if you enjoyed it. Anybody else, if you do have any questions, let me know. If you see anything or if you saw anything that you would, let me bring this back. Bring this back to me. Yeah, there you go. So if you see anything or if you saw anything and then you have any questions, or if you want to add anything else to this, let me know. Just pop your questions in the comment section, and I'll definitely get to them when I have some time, either today or tomorrow. I love that you're all showed up. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Take care.